Alright, we're ready to start. So, hey guys, welcome back to the Useless Ideas Podcast. My name is Curtis Smith, and this week I am actually taking on the podcast solo. Since Matt did his last week while I was out of town, I am thankfully back, although leaving in a little under an hour, actually, to go back out of town because that's just how my life goes now. With that said, I'm ready to start the show. So let's get into it. It is April or March 30th as I record the podcast, right about 11 a.m. And so good news is that my Leafs are in the playoffs. Our, I guess, since both Matt and I are Toronto Maple Leafs fans, they have made the playoffs just this week, clinched their playoff spot. So fingers crossed that the wait could be over soon. We probably won't this year, but have the shot to finally end the drought. 50 plus years without a cup. 51 years this year. So hopefully soon that's over, but at the moment we just have to keep on hoping. That said, that's the good news. The other good news was the fact that just yesterday was opening day for the 2018 MLB season. That's one of my favorite days in sports, right next to college football opening weekend. Unfortunately, my Blue Jays got crushed by the evil empire in the New York Yankees, who are back and ready to rock. Unfortunately, for every other fan base in sports, Yankees fans get something to cheer about. So, yeah, that's not going to be fun this year. Although, I guess yesterday with opening day, really, it wasn't about the game. Obviously, yesterday in Toronto, for those of you who haven't seen it, an amazing tribute to Roy Halladay, Doc. Such a tragedy losing him this just last year. Just awful what happened. I don't know if I've talked about it before. I probably haven't. But Roy Halladay was the guy who got me into baseball as much as I am today, and the reason that I love the game so much, and I took so much inspiration from watching him be the lone bright spot in a lot of terrible Blue Jays teams when I was growing up. He was and just everything about the way he approached the game was just incredible. It's just it was such a shame to see the tragic passing of one of the best in the game, one of the best to ever pitch, one of probably the greatest Blue Jay ever in my opinion, and such an inspiration to me. So seeing that was tough to swallow. Definitely, it is tough for a lot of people, I think, to not get emotional when discussing that. But I just wanted to sort of talk about that real briefly here at the top of the show. Aside from that, football rather is continuing to ramp up in a crazy off season. Of course, the Giants with their potential shopping but not shopping Odell Beckham for a trade, that could get pretty crazy. Watching the Rams obviously stack their defense with now Ndamukong Suh, Marcus Peters, all those guys. That's gonna be crazy, and honestly, really bad for the NFC West, because that's gonna be bad for the rest of the NFC West, because now they have to go against a really good team. That said, I mean, other NFC West teams have definitely stepped it up. Obviously, Richard Sherman, now a 49er. That's pretty cool, and it's going to be really, really fun to watch the Niners next year, now that they've got Jimmy G, who they just fleeced from my Patriots, and now Richard Sherman. And I guess speaking of my Patriots, oh boy, yeah, the dynasty's over, guys. I'm not gonna not be a fan. Obviously, I'm not a bandwagon fan. But yeah, I gotta tell you, I think the dynasty is coming to a close. Definitely, like this offseason has taken a ton of key pieces away from the Patriots. Malcolm Butler obviously gone to the Titans. Nate Solder to the Giants. Dion Lewis also to the Titans. Lots of talent definitely leaving, which is not good. Obviously, just still get like with a new defensive coordinator coming in, and the fact that there's no real succession plan at the quarterback position is pretty scary for Patriots fans, because yeah, Brady's fantastic. Obviously, nothing's changed with that, but I mean he can't go forever, and if they don't address getting a successor at quarterback, then this is really going to be a rough stretch for the Patriots after Brady does eventually hang it up. So I would say that honestly the dynasty is kind of coming to a close. I mean, with that said, obviously it's been 18 seasons of just unprecedented success and an amazing franchise over the last, like I said, nearly 2 decades. 5 Super Bowl rings, all the accolades that you can imagine. Brady and Belichick, of course, the greatest coach-quarterback combo of all time. There's nothing that you can take away from them, in my opinion. That being said, of course, it is hard to imagine the NFL and the landscape without the Patriots at the top. I think for a lot of people over the last nearly 2 decades of watching the Patriots constantly be at the top. With that said, I guess I want to kind of get into talking about the future of the NFL, since this is a good place to get into it, and specifically this year's draft, of course. And my thought that it is 3 good quarterbacks mixed with a whole bunch of busts, honestly. Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, and Josh Allen are going to be studs at the next level. And if the Browns decide to Browns their pick, which inevitably they probably will because it's Cleveland, they will choose anybody but Sam Darnold, who is the best fit for them. And there's no reason not to pick Sam Darnold first overall, in my opinion, if you're the Browns. He will be he's just going to be a stud for the next 10 to 15 years. Josh Allen from Wyoming and Josh Rosen from UCLA and Josh Allen from Wyoming, pardon me. Those two are also going to be just fantastic. And then we get into what I view as way overrated players. At least at the quarterback position. Of course, first of all being Baker Mayfield. Anybody who chooses Baker Mayfield is going to go in the top 10, likely. That being said, he shouldn't. I think that, honestly, there's no reason to draft him in the top 10. He's not a first-round quarterback, in my opinion. He's a 3rd to 5th round quarterback. Because, number one, he's less than 6 feet tall. Or I guess at the combine he measured it I think like exactly 6 feet. Regardless, he's at or a little below 6 feet tall. That's obviously an issue for a lot of people at the position of quarterback. obviously there's that issue. He played in a conference in the Big 12, which is, oh, sorry about that. A little bit of an audio glitch, or a little bit of a glitch with my recording software. Anyways, Baker Mayfield, where I was saying he played in a conference that is not great. You know, he didn't go up against the best defenses. It wasn't like he was lighting it up in the Big Ten, where there are hard-nosed defenses, tough weather conditions, all that, or in the SEC, where obviously there are just the best defenses in college football. The Big 12 and Oklahoma quarterbacks always put up monster numbers, so you can take that with a bit of a grain of salt. At least in my opinion, I would. He's got a good arm, not a spectacular arm. He's pretty athletic. That being said, the biggest issue is obviously character concerns with him having been arrested. That's my biggest issue with Baker Mayfield, is I think he's too much like Johnny Manziel. I think he is a fairly athletic, pretty good armed, short quarterback with character issues, who was more than anything just electrifying to watch and made a lot of people talk about him, rather than actually being extremely talented and deserving of being a top 10 pick. The other quarterback that I think is going to be a bust is Lamar Jackson. I really think he's a future wide receiver or running back, because he's super athletic, obviously. I don't like his accuracy. I don't think he's accurate enough to be an NFL quarterback. I think he struggles to be accurate on a lot of intermediate to deep throws. He has a good, not great arm as far as strength is concerned, and he's too much of a spread quarterback, too much of an option quarterback for what I would think for what is typically successful in the NFL. You can be successful running around. That being said, I mean, the only one that I really think of as being able to be successful with that is Russell Wilson of the Seattle Seahawks, who is just a freak, obviously. I mean, like, if he hadn't chosen to play football, he would be, he could be playing professional baseball. Like, just this year in spring training, he was there, took some at bats for the Yankees. Like, this is a dude who could do whatever he chose as far as sports is concerned. The reality is, I just don't think that Lamar Jackson can unfortunately be that as far as the running is concerned. I think he's electric, not elite. I guess to some extent the same way I view Cam Newton. The same way that I view Cam Newton, being that I think Cam is a talented guy, but not a great typical quarterback, not a great thrower. I don't like either of their accuracy. They're very athletic, both Lamar Jackson and Cam Newton. That being said, I think the running is a bit of an issue. We saw that when Cam couldn't run, when they tried to make Cam a pocket quarterback, obviously the Panthers were garbage. And Cam just doesn't throw. He's not very accurate, and I honestly feel that will be the same way with Lamar Jackson, minus the fact that, of course, Cam Newton has a ridiculously strong arm. Like, that dude can sling it downfield as far as he wants to, as far as any quarterback in the league. I just don't see him as being a typically great quarterback, which is a shame. But I honestly think this year's draft is first teams to get those top 3 picks, or to get those top 3 quarterbacks, are the ones who are getting good quarterbacks, and anything past that, probably not so great. That said, there are quarterbacks who I think will fall that can turn into really good quarterbacks. Hopefully, in the second to third round, the Patriots take Mason Rudolph from Oklahoma State. I really like him. I think he's a really talented. I think he's a talented guy and can definitely learn in a good system behind Tom Brady for however long Brady remains with the team before retiring. And I think he can be groomed with the now staying Josh McDaniels, who I would imagine is the next head coach of the Patriots when Bill Belichick also eventually decides to retire, because I do think that he will, maybe not this year, but pretty soon. I actually think that, honestly, Brady and Belichick would have retired this year had they won the Super Bowl. So I don't think it's too far down the line for them to decide to retire. So that's sort of my football thoughts for the first little bit of the show today. Pardon me, just need to get some water there. Past football, haven't been really focusing too much on a lot of stuff. Just because as was evidenced last week with my inability to actually be in studio, which I'm still not at the moment, able to record. I've been just extremely busy, so I do apologize for that, obviously, last week. And hopefully, I think the plan at this point in time for the next couple of shows is that next week is going to be our NHL playoff preview special. As I mentioned, of course, our Leafs are in the playoffs, which is fantastic. For the second straight season, they are in the playoffs. Finally, we could have a legit team on our hands pretty soon. I mean, they're a legit team, obviously, this year. 46 wins franchise record is amazing. That being said, a legit team that will win the cup, in my opinion. We'll get into that, of course, next week, as far as that's concerned. And then the week after that, I know we've been teasing it for a while. The last, 3 episodes or so, 3-4 episodes, we've been talking about doing an episode with conspiracies, which I've been doing a lot of research on. I've got some wild ones planned. Hopefully at some point we can maybe do some other stuff. I'm looking across my room right now at 4 true crime books that I'm hoping I can dive into at some point down the line on the podcast. That's one of my conspiracy theories. Little teaser does involve some true crime, some interesting events. A serial killer specifically. It's gonna be a fun one. Obviously, as you're figuring out, I'm a bit of a true crime nerd. I think I'm a fan of researching that type of stuff, called serial killer stuff like that. Which, as I'm doing more and more research, I'm realizing not great to necessarily have favorites, but I definitely have favorite cults and stuff like that. Mostly just because I find the insanity of what they do and all of that to be really interesting as far as cults are concerned. Aum Shinrikyo in Japan was just crazy, and at the same time also kind of super badass because they were sort of supervillains. That being said, I mean, in my opinion, Shoko Asahara is not actually that cool. I think he's kind of dumb, and I like Aum Shinrikyo a lot better than I actually like their leader, Shoko Asahara. As far as a leader is concerned, Jim Jones is actually pretty great. Pre-meth Jim Jones. Because, I really like all of what he does, but that's partially just because, speaking on to my political side, I'm a fan of Niccolo Machiavelli and a fan of the Prince, and I think Jim Jones specifically, brought in a lot of Machiavellian and um, teachings. He brought in a lot of he used a lot of those to justify what he was actually doing, and I think it was actually, in my opinion at least, super super cool. And had the whole mass murder at Jonestown not been a thing, and the meth, I think it actually would have been really cool. um, that being said, of course, I'm gonna, I'll digress from that whole little um, spiel about cults and stuff like that. I'm gonna get back to talking about. I'm not quite sure what, honestly. Um, yeah, it's hopefully not next week, but the week after, we'll be diving headfirst into conspiracy theories, which would be really, really fun. I'm not sure actually what Matt has planned, and I do in fact believe at least that it it's going to be uh, more than just Matt and I on the show during our conspiracy episodes, which would be fun. We'll see how that goes. I have been very intent about making sure that there's going to be a bit of a crazy theory, one that is obviously bullshit, but nonetheless fun. So that's that should be a good episode coming up pretty soon. I'm not really, as I said, not really sure what else I want to talk about. I guess we never mentioned it, um, but I believe this was now 2 or 3 weeks ago, 2 or 3 episodes ago. Um, it would be, uh, pardon me, sorry, I'm getting distracted. I guess a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about superheroes and we were talking about going to see Black Panther. We did end up doing that after we finished recording the show that week. I thought it was good. I thought it was really good actually. I was a fan, but not necessarily my favorite Marvel movie I've ever seen. I thought it was, like I said, I thought it was good. I thought it was definitely above average. But I mean, I still like Captain America better. As far as the solo movies are concerned. That being said, I mean there was nothing bad about Black Panther, and I definitely recommend it if you haven't already seen it. Uh, really really great movie, but just not as good as Captain America, at least in my opinion. But that's just one guy's opinion. So take that as you will. Yeah, so this is likely going to be a bit of a shorter episode because I really don't have that much to talk about, and this is definitely unfortunately I am on a bit of a time crunch as well, so I can't really dive into a super long episode because I do need to be leaving pretty soon to go out of town again for the next couple days. Unfortunately, that's just sort of how it is. I'm gonna do my best. Definitely will be in studio next week to actually record our uh, playoff preview special. That's gonna be a good time. Um, yeah, I'm gonna try my best as often as I can to be in studio with Matt so that we can be recording um, sort of more consistently. We're also probably going to have to start doing these um, record multiple ones in a day, so that we can have them all done in advance for you guys and put those out. I'm not sure what else really we're going to be doing as far as the podcast is concerned for the immediate future. That being said, we're definitely gonna sort of be trying everything we can to up the quality as often as we possibly can, to do with the microphones, to do with cameras, to do with all of that. And of course, when we start doing more and more in-depth episodes, do more research and stuff like that, the sports episodes, it is what it is. Those are just sort of, we can't really record them in advance. But with some of the other ones, like we've been, to the best of my knowledge at least, we've been all doing a lot of research on some of these conspiracy theories that we're gonna tackle. So that's sort of the plan, is do a lot of research for any of the episodes that are not just sort of off the top of our head or to do with sports. But yeah, that's sort of the update on what the podcast is looking like at the moment. Yeah, so coming up on about 25 minutes, which is obviously super short, and I feel kind of bad that I don't really have a whole bunch to talk about at the moment, because I just unfortunately don't really have all that much to discuss. I guess I can make an announcement, I suppose, that I guess since I was talking about the future of the podcast, at the end of August, beginning of September, there will be a lot more recordings where I'm out of studio, starting around that point, because I did finally make a decision where I'm going to school next year, and I'm gonna be moving out and going to Brock University starting in September, which is going to be great. With that said, of course, I am moving out. It is about an hour and a half from where we record and all that. So I will be, of course, out of studio from September to April, but that's not going to affect too much, at least. Not going to affect the schedule. As I said, we're going to try and get some out in advance so that any weeks where, for whatever reason, we can't record, a new show, that we can take one of ours off the shelf and still make sure that you guys get your content every week. So yeah, that's super exciting. As I said, I'm going to try and make sure that we can have as many bonus videos and full episodes, of course, out for you guys as often as we can. Bonus videos are just going to be sort of sporadically thrown throughout the channel, and our actual podcast, of course, every week we're gonna do a new one, have a new one posted for you guys, same time every week, as always. Like I said, I'm sorry that this one is going to be a little shorter than most, but I'm on a bit of a time crunch, but we still need to make sure that we get the content out for you guys. But yeah, that being said, I do unfortunately have to end the episode here about half an hour. I know this is a lot. I know this is 20 minutes shorter than most of ours are, but that's unfortunately just how this week is been going. So yeah, as always though, you guys can follow all of us on Twitter. They are in the descriptions. Of course, you can find me at Curtis Smitty both on Twitter and Instagram. So feel free to give me follows there, and then of course subscribe to the channel. Let me know what topics you guys want to hear about in future episodes when we're back in the studio. And I guess since I did mention it, if you guys want some fun little true crime episodes with me sounding like a bit of a madman, then let me know, and we might make that happen as well. So yeah, as always, thanks guys for listening. Really appreciate it, and hope you guys take care. It is Easter this weekend, so if you choose to celebrate, then happy Easter. And if not, then well, since it's Friday today, for at least in North America, enjoy your day off. And if you also get Monday off, enjoy that off too. Yeah, so thanks for listening.